This is the Sales Babble Podcast, episode 348, Demand Side Sales, Part 2, an interview with returning guest Bob Moesta.
Welcome to Sales Babble, the podcast that shares selling secrets for non-sellers. And now your host, Pat Helmers.
So what do you, if you don't care about the car, what do you care about?
That the truck can pull a trailer.
Oh, what's on the trailer?
What do you mean what's on the trailer? It's a camper.
Ah, so you're gonna put a camper on the back, or you're gonna pull a
Totally.
Do you own the camper, or are you gonna buy a camper?
No, it's been ordered. Won't get it till October.
Oh, so you've already ordered the camper. So there's the number one thing. So you bought a camper.
I've been waiting for you to ask me that.
Yeah. I know you have. And you've been holding back. See here, like most prospects, you're holding back, right?
Hey folks, it's Pat. And that conversation last week was more or less pretty much like that. Bob using me as an example of how buyers act in front of salespeople and the kind of questions sellers should be asking in order to understand what their true motivations are. And it was, as you can tell, last week, I was pretty uncomfortable with some of those questions because I hadn't fully thought it out what I was looking to do. So after we turned off the mic, Bob and I kept talking for another 20 minutes, and we talked about this whole process of asking questions and this intersection between marketing and sales and higher ed, and how that sales is the lifeblood of a business, yet at the same time, it's kind of considered a trade. It's just a set of skills that people do, as opposed to marketing, which is all uppity and theoretical. So if it's okay with you guys, if you could humor me, I would love to play this conversation because I was able to keep the recording on and delve a whole lot deeper into understanding why consumers make choices with jobs to be done, to dig deeper into this idea of demand-side sales as opposed to supply-side sales, that what really matters is what the buyer thinks. But before we do that, I do want to mention that this episode is sponsored by the Rewired Group, who's all about understanding why consumers make choices with the jobs to be done. Go to the show notes to find links to the Rewired Group. And so, with no further ado, let's get to it. That was wonderful. That was absolutely wonderful.
Thank you. I mean, that's the best part is you're just the organic nature of you buying a truck and not telling me what it was, and that, oh, you bought a camper, by the way. Eventually it'll come out. That's the thing is most people think it has to come out in the beginning. It doesn't have to come out in the beginning. It just has to come out when we talk.
Mm-hmm. You know, I have a lot of people on the podcast, and everybody talks about we need to ask more questions, need to listen better, and things like that. It just seems like it's not sinking in, though, in many regards.
Yeah, but so here's the thing is it's not just what you say, it's how you say it. Like there's a whole aspect of your apprehension of saying that, like, well, I have a truck or I have a car, but you won't tell me the car that you have. Right. I know all that. Like my thing is there's some anxiety about saying what you have and that it's not really worth anything. And it's a 2009, but like I got a 2009 Ford Flex that's got 218,000 miles on it, but it's like, that's my kid's car. It was my car at one point, but it's my kid's car now. But like, again, you not wanting to reveal that, I'm very, very, like, I know where to probe and not to probe. I'm listening to the way you say what you say. So it's not just, and I'm not, to be honest, and I don't have a list of questions. I literally am listening to your answer, and I'm forming the next question based on the previous answer.
Yes.
And most people are like, no, I got to have the questions. I'm like, but no. I don't know the questions.
Yes.
But I know what progress looks like. I know what activity looks like. I know when you're really in for the truck. I know you got 4 dealers. You actually are looking between them. You're like wading into the water and just kind of going like, this is going to be nice. It'll be good. We're going to get there. Right?
I love this quote here. What does progress look like to you?
Right. That's the key, right? Because at some point we're more worried about what people think of our product. So when I do product interviews, I don't talk about my product at all. I talk about them. They'll say, "Oh, I really like this feature of basically the ability to back a trailer in." Like, why? Because I don't have a clue how to do it, and I don't want to learn. Right? So what progress are you really trying to make? I'm buying a camper, and I know that backing up a trailer is really hard, so I'm buying a Ford because I know that has it. Do me a favor, read the book, and then let me know if there's because my belief is that book will actually help you become a better buyer. That's what the number one thing that I get is, boy, this is a really good book for sales, but it's actually helped me become a better buyer. And if you actually know how to buy better, then you actually know how to sell better.
Yeah.
That's the paradox.
There is a saying that used to go around. You don't hear as much used to, that great salespeople are great shoppers or buyers.
Yep. Because they actually understand the experience of buying. So here's the thing is, you know, when you've bought something and it was not necessarily easy, but when you were done, you were satisfied because it had some challenge to it. Like your camper. I'm sure that you didn't buy the camper randomly.
No,
that's right. And now that you've put your commitment to it, you're already committed to it, right? But the reality is, like, there's a level of satisfaction for the effort that you put into it that most people would say, we're just going to make it as easy as possible for you. Like, hell no, don't make it easy, because that actually ruins it for me. I want to know what it's like to live in it. When we're out in it, I want these little details. I want this. I want that. I don't want that, because that's going to track mud inside it. I want this. I want these stairs, not those stairs. These stairs look better, but those stairs are actually way more going to keep it way cleaner. And so my thing is, but most salespeople think is making it easy to buy is what everybody wants, and that's not true, right?
I've never heard anybody say that.
Well, this is why I actually hate the free trial.
I have literally interviewed 370 people on this podcast, and I've never heard anybody say that.
But think about it. A free trial, nobody commits to a free trial because it's free.
Yeah, it's free. Yeah, nobody wants a free trial.
So like a base camp, the fact is we got rid of free trials because at some point it's like, well, I give you 3 weeks free. Well, nobody puts anything in for 3 weeks, or otherwise they just put it all in and they start anyways. So what we did is we actually said, we're going to give base camp personal, one project for you personally to run anything you want out of it. You can use it forever. It's free, but it's one project. But if you actually learn how to use it for your personal life, I guarantee you'll use it for your work life. But you don't make it easy. Easy is not necessarily good.
Yeah, you're right.
Right? I mean, think the other part though is then there's stupid hard, right?
Right. They call it friction. You know, you don't want to have a lot of friction when people purchase.
Right. But there's a difference between friction and useful struggle. Like when you get to deciding, there's a whole bunch of trade-offs you have to make. My belief is the more people actually allow you to make trade-offs or show you ways to make trade-offs, the more satisfied you are in what you buy. But 9 times out of 10, we're showing people one thing, and people need 3 things to choose. Because what happens is they see 3 things. The first thing they do is they eliminate one of the 3. They know which one they don't want. And then what they do is they take the other 2 that are left, and they don't compare them to each other. They actually compare them to the one that's out. And so they don't actually pick what they want. They actually pick what they don't want. That's what happens when you're observant and you actually watch people choose and you ask them, like, what do you want? My thing is most of the time you can't tell me what you want, but you can always tell me what you don't want.
Yes, that is 100% true. That's true about a lot of things.
That's right.
That's actually a fundamental pillar in philosophy.
That's right.
It's easier to say something isn't than it is to say what it is.
That's right. So it's what I call exclusionary theory versus inclusionary theory. Most people think you need to have all these features because this is what people want. I'm like, no, tell me all the reasons why people don't buy. Like just because they say they want it doesn't mean we're going to add it. But if they say if I get to the point and understand what they're going to use it for, like I can actually design a product that's half as good and satisfies twice as much as everybody else. QuickBooks is a perfect example of that, right? QuickBooks is the worst accounting package in the world. It really is. Like by any accountant standard, it is horrible. But it's literally good enough because what it is it's simple enough that the owner of the company can still run the books and not have to hire somebody. So it doesn't compete with other software. It competes with hiring somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you talk about QuickBooks, the first thing you do is you don't talk about other software company. You talk about, so when are you going to hire a bookkeeper? Because the real competition is a bookkeeper, not other software.
Right. That's correct.
And so this is the point, is that if we worry about our product, then we only see products in the category, that we only then talk about competition in the category, as opposed to seeing what is the real progress they're trying to make and what are their real consideration sets and candidates, as opposed to the industry. Because the industry is usually wrong because it doesn't see the world like the customer does. The greatest competitor to a new mattress is Z-Quill.
I always say the greatest competitor is the status quo.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, but my thing is I ran an ad at one point and said, like, how many bottles of Z-Quill do you have to go through before you realize you need a new mattress? 22% increase in sales. Right. So this is the thing where you have to be able to, and this is where sales and marketing and customer support all need to work together. Like we have them actually competing with each other. So stupid.
Explain this to me, Professor.
Yeah.
Why is it I can get a degree in marketing, but I can't get a degree in sales?
Yeah, that's a great question. So that's actually how I started this whole thing, was like, why, how can you go through and study a business and not have one class in sales? Like, what's up with that? And then it's like, well, we teach sales. It's like we have the lawyers come in and teach negotiations, and we have HR come and talk about compensation. I'm like, what do you like? I've done 7 startups. The hardest thing I ever had to do was learn how to sell. And I had to sell not only customers, but I had to sell founders. I had to sell investors. I had to sell suppliers. I had to sell everybody all the time. Yes. And I'm an engineer who's an introvert who freaking hates it. And so you start to realize, like, why are you not teaching this? And at some point you start to realize, well, maybe it's just too hard for them to teach. And the other part is they basically come back and say, well, there's a lot of technique and it's all depends on the product you have. And so I said, well, that's just crap. Let's start teaching at least why people buy, and make that the foundation for sales in business school. So that's really why I wrote the book. So we can start teaching sales in business school, for God's sakes.
A good friend of mine is a professor at Aurora University in Aurora, Illinois, and they actually have a sales program.
That's awesome.
It's one of 8 in the United States. What are there, 4,000 higher ed institutions in the United States? Only 8 of them have an undergraduate degree in sales.
Yep. Ridiculous. And let's think about it. Sales is like, it's the blood of the body. It is like, without sales, you can't do anything.
Nope.
Right. And I can have accounting that's like the neurons, and I can have like all these other things that make it. But the reality is, like, if I can't sell, and the best part is when people say, well, we just need to get a new salesperson in here. Well, what's that mean? It's like, well, they got to have a better Rolodex. They got to have, they're going to have a little bit more understanding of it, that, but somebody who can close. It's like not like you're counting on people to actually do the sale. The best salespeople are actually, they're probably the smartest people you'll ever know, because they understand product, they understand the customer, they understand psychology, they understand money, they understand time, they understand actually everything in the business. And if they don't, they're probably pretty bad salespeople.
Yeah, and so this is an axe I got to grind, that people just don't appreciate that. I was talking to a prospective client once. I won't say much more than that, but they were of the notion of like, yeah, we just need to get some salespeople in here. And then they were asking us, so who do you think we should be selling to? Where are you going to go to find your leads and whatnot? And I'm like, look, I don't even know your business.
Yeah.
Where are you finding them now? How are you doing it now? What's the, can we talk to them? Oh, we can't talk to them. How come we can't talk to them? I mean, like, you don't even understand who's your ideal client,
Yeah.
what the benefits are from their point of view. You think you can just hire this?
That's right. Crazy, isn't it? It's crazy. This is where it drives me absolutely nuts. So in the book, I talk about that sales is the most difficult of any position, whether it's a startup or a big company. But the reality is, like, most people treat it as if it's an order taker. And I try to figure out when that happened. By the way, in the 60s and 70s, there were sales professors. There was actually degrees in sales, but they all went away in 1986 when KKR bought RJR Nabisco for like 10 or 12 times earnings. And it basically allowed brand marketing to put a line on the balance sheet that said brand equity. And it's the moment when basically sales used to have marketing as their helpers, and it literally flipped over. And basically, it's now where marketers have salespeople who are literally their order takers. And from then on out, there was a whole theory around brand equity and brand marketing, but there's never been actually an underlying theory of sales. It's always been tools, techniques, and process. So it was seen as a trade. That's why there's no degree in it in most cases, because there's no, quote, research or theory around it. So that's what I'm trying to actually establish, which I think is ridiculous. But at the same time, like, we got to start somewhere.
Yeah. People want to find your book, Bob.
Yep.
Where would they go?
They go to Amazon. Where else do you go? Right? Amazon. And it's Demand Side Sales 101. Stop selling and help your customers make progress. And it's just about the language we talked about and ways in which to interrogate, to be honest, or investigate and be curious about why people are pulling your product or their products into their lives.
And if people want to bump into you, people want to reach out to you.
Twitter is probably the best place, at Moesta, Moesta, or therewiredgroup.com is my design studio. And then otherwise, I teach at Northwestern, and then guest lecture, Harvard, MIT, Columbia, places like that.
And you're in Detroit, right?
I am based in Detroit. Yep. Born and raised.
Yeah. And I feel like, too, that Detroit's really having a renaissance right now.
Yes, it is. It's I think it's its fourth, but yes, it's coming back around. Yeah. Right. It always has these notions of building new industries when we're down on our luck. So I think we're in the midst of reinventing ourselves again, which is fabulous.
Yeah, I'm very happy about that. I love Detroit. Yeah. I used to live in Detroit, and I'm happy to see it come along. That's just been terrific news. Yep. Bob, this has been great having you babble here on Sales Babble.
It was babbling, that's for sure. I hope your listeners enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Take care.
Thanks, man.
Well, guys, I know you probably think, man, Pat's really geeking out on this. But I'm just so intrigued by the idea that there's a buying process, not a selling process, because it completely turns the table and influences your approach on how you proceed with these sales conversations. They're just going to be so much more natural and so much more fluid. What we're talking about here is a completely different psychology. And to a certain degree, it explains what I've been doing naturally for decades in sales. So when I bump into a guy like Bob as a guest, I can't help but think he's the sharpest tack in the box because he already agrees with something I already believe in. So, so my hat's off to him. This is really, really great work. And we just need to stop this idea that we can jam square pegs into round holes. If the buyer's not qualified, they're not qualified. They're not going to be giving you great referrals and great references. So better to have an attitude. How can I help their agenda? How can I make them progress their agenda, as Bob puts it? To connect with Bob, you can certainly find links to him in the show notes. And if you got any questions or comments to Bob or myself, don't hesitate to reach out. Click the Babble Me button on salesbabble.com and be more than happy to answer your questions. It's Thanksgiving this week. Please keep your events small. Stay safe, folks. Please stay safe. So, until next week, take care and have a highly successful and a profitable selling day.
Thank you for listening to the Sales Babble podcast. Find us at www.salesbabble.com.
This is a production of Habanero Media.